Yes, it's true that law school applications are way up this year and high LSAT scores are making waves, but don't panic just yet. The numbers are shifting, and the picture isn't as bad as it seems if you're applying to law school this cycle. Today, I'll break it down for you. First, for those who don't know me, my name is Steve Schwartz. I've been teaching the LSAT since 2005, and I personally increased my own LSAT score from a 152 to a 175. Now that we're roughly midway through this law school admission cycle, I wanted to give you an update. If you're feeling overwhelmed by talk of increased applications and high LSAT scores, I've got great news for you. Things are not as bad as they seem. Today, we'll dive into the latest numbers in applicant volume, LSAT scores, and application timing to give you the insight you need to navigate the rest of this cycle. You've probably heard that law school application numbers are way up this year, and that's true, but it's worth putting the data into perspective. Law school applications are currently up 24.2% compared to last year, but this is already down from over 35% year-over-year increase just a few weeks ago, showing that growth is slowing as the cycle progresses. What this means for you is that you want to remember early cycle numbers can be misleading because of some unique factors this admissions cycle. More on that in just a little bit. By the end of the cycle overall, though, we're likely to see overall applicant growth normalized to roughly 10 to 15% year-over-year increase, which is in line with the increases we've seen during previous presidential election years like 2016 and 2020. Now, LSAT scores are way up this cycle, but they are stabilizing. The number of high scorers, those in the top percentiles, remains elevated year-over-year, but the growth is slowing. Currently, applicants in the 165 to 169 range are up about 30% compared to last year. Same is true for those scoring in the 170 to 174 range compared to last year, and those in the 175 to 180 range are up 28.7% compared to last year. And so while these numbers are still higher than they were last year, they're lower than they were just 1 week ago. So the initial surge of high-scoring applicants appears to be tapering off, creating a more balanced landscape as the cycle goes forward. Now, I mentioned this year's application cycle is unique in law school admissions. There are a number of different factors shaping the trends that we're seeing. The first and biggest one is the LSAT format change earlier this year. LSAC removed the logic game section after the June test, and that removal caused many test takers to adjust their schedules. Some test takers rushed to take the June LSAT, given that it was the last test with the logic game section, but others waited for August so they could take the new format without the logic game section. Overall, this led to a massive surge in early applicants, including many high scorers who would typically apply a bit later in the cycle. So the big factor first was the LSAT format change. The second big factor was that this was, of course, a presidential election year, the so-called Trump bump. During presidential election years, especially when Trump is on the ballot, like he was in 2016 and 2020, law school applications tend to increase because a lot of law school applicants are, of course, politically motivated. They are inspired to make systemic changes through their legal careers. So we saw an 8% increase in applicants back in 2016, a 13% increase in 2020, compounded, of course, by the pandemic, and we're expecting a similar increase in applications this year in 2024. So it won't be as big as 25 to 30% as the early cycle numbers indicate. It will drop a bit as the cycle goes forward. Of course, a third big factor is the economic situation. Historically, law school applications rise when the economy is bad and job opportunities are scarce. If the economy improves, which we're already seeing, and unemployment decreases, applicant volume may drop further. Now, of course, all this will impact LSAT and GPA medians this cycle. Because we're seeing significantly increased applicant volume and a number of high scorers applying to law school as well, we can expect that GPA medians will keep rising because, of course, grade inflation isn't going anywhere, and law schools are always excited to boost their medians to help themselves rise in the US News law school rankings. We're likely to see LSAT medians rise at least somewhat because of continued LSAT score inflation, due to the fact that LSAT has become a lot more liberal in granting accommodations for things like extra time. So schools will continue to accept more higher scoring applicants. Now, what is your opportunity as an applicant in all this? Of course, your GPA is likely pretty set by this point in time, but the LSAT score is still within your control to improve significantly. Even just an increase of a couple of points can significantly improve your chances of getting into a better law school and getting scholarship money. So if you are looking to retake the LSAT perhaps in January or February and apply to law school this cycle, there's plenty of time to improve, and my team and I at LSAT Unplugged would be glad to help you out. We offer live online classes via Zoom, on-demand video courses, small group coaching, and one-on-one coaching. If you're interested in finding out more, you can check out the links below to book a call with me and my team. We'd be glad to help you out. And the good news is that it is not too late to retake the LSAT or take it for the first time. The January LSAT is coming up mid-January, roughly January 15th. Scores come out February 5th. That's still perfectly fine timing for most law school deadlines. And even the February LSAT is not too late. The February LSAT is in early February, roughly February 5th, 6th, or 7th. Scores come back February 26th. That's still fine for virtually every single law school in the US, and it is totally fine to retake the LSAT. It is totally fine to have multiple LSAT scores on your record. Law schools only care about the highest score you have, so retaking the LSAT has virtually no risk. If you get a better score, that's great. If not, no big deal. And of course, it is better to apply to law school a little bit later with a higher score than earlier with a lower score. So as for your next steps, if your LSAT scores are below medians or on target with last year's medians, I do recommend, of course, retaking the LSAT. Even just a small increase of a couple of points can get you into a better law school, get you more scholarship money, possibly both. If you are a high scorer above a school's medians, you want to, of course, write the strongest application essays possible so that law schools aren't worried that they are your backup or safety school. You don't want to be denied simply due to yield protection. And if you've already applied but haven't heard back yet, be patient. Remember, law schools were inundated with a larger than usual number of applications early in the cycle. They are still wading through those most likely, and you may want to consider writing a letter of continued interest if you've already been waiting for a couple of months. And so yes, while law school apps are up this cycle and high LSAT scores are up this cycle as well, the situation is stabilizing. Don't let the early cycle numbers discourage you. Focus on what you can control, either retaking the LSAT or maybe writing that letter of continued interest. And of course, if you'd like my help, if you are retaking the LSAT in January, February, or taking it beyond that point, my team and I would be glad to help you out. Again, check out the links below to book a call with me and my team. And in the meantime, I wish you all the best and take care.